Oh, we're cooking. I love this build, dude. What's up, agents? Today I'm going to be showing you two sniper builds for the Division 2. Now, I have one set up for PvE and the other for PvP, and I want to make it very clear these builds are not to be used out of their intended game modes, meaning you don't want to use the PvE one for PvP or the PvP one for PvE, because they're pretty precisely tuned for what they're designed to do, so one just won't work in the other. Now for the build breakdown, starting up top, our specialization, we're going to be running the sharpshooter. This is mainly for the bonus headshot damage you get for this specialization. This is just generally the marksman rifle class, so that's the one we're going to want to use for that. As far as the weapons go, this is mostly preference. You can really use any marksman rifle that'll one-shot for you. Any of the bolt ones usually work. I know a lot of people like the Model 700. I just prefer the SR1. Another good option is the White Death, if you have that. But yeah, this is mostly preference. You can use whatever one works as long as you're able to one-shot. For the talent, this is very important. This is the first key part of this build. We're going to be running Determined. After killing an enemy with a headshot, the next headshot, or the next shot landed on an enemy will be a guaranteed headshot. So essentially, when you get a headshot kill, you can start shooting bodies after that, and they will all count as headshots. And with the way we have this set up, you'll be one-shotting with any headshot. For the mods on that, I have this hollow sight that gives me 3% headshot damage. Laser pointer for crit chance. I mostly just use this because it looks cool, though. Technically, the best option would be this vertical grip for accuracy, but it works just fine without it. So I just use the laser pointer because I like how it looks. We have the suppressor for accuracy, and then we have +5 rounds. Now, something to mention with this too is the hollow sight. I have this hollow sight on here because I don't like scoping in with these actual marksman scopes. My aim is just better with the classic over-the-shoulder aiming that this game has. But if you wanted more headshot damage, or you aren't able to one-shot with the hollow sight, or if you just like the way the scopes feel, you could use any of these scopes to get some extra headshot damage. For the secondary, I have the exotic Nemesis marksman rifle. This is mainly just to help get that first kill a bit easier, because this is going to do a lot more headshot damage than any other sniper will be able to do. So this will just help you be able to, maybe if there's no red or purple enemies that you can get for your first kill to start your stacks, then you can use this to kill a gold enemy in one hit, or sometimes just a tankier purple enemy. But you don't necessarily need this. The pistol doesn't really matter. You can run whatever you want. Now for the actual pieces here, we have the exotic ninja bike backpack, 3 pieces of hot shot, a Walker Harris chest piece, and a Habsburg guard mask. You don't necessarily have to have it lay out exactly like this, other than the backpack because it's exotic, and the chest because that's named. We'll get into that in a minute. So for the Habsburg piece, this is going to give us 15% headshot damage, 20% marksman rifle damage. Now I have armor rolled on here, weapon handling, headshot damage, and a headshot damage mod. Now for the armor, you'll see that's the only piece we have armor on, other than the ninja bike, because that comes with all 3. You don't have to put armor there. You can put weapon damage if you're not consistently one-shotting enough. But I'm able to one-shot with 1 armor roll, so I just put it on there because it's nice having a little bit of extra armor. For the chest piece, this is the named Chain Killer chest piece. For here, we have weapon damage, headshot, weapon handling, and a headshot mod. And this comes with the perfect headhunter talent. This talent's a bit confusing if you never used it before. To put it simply, when you get a headshot kill, it's going to increase the damage of your next headshot. And it is necessary to be able to one-shot those gold elites. Now for our hotshot pieces, we just have weapon damage, headshot damage on all of those. And then we have a headshot damage mod on our ninja bike. For the skills, I'm running the holographic distraction decoy. I would highly recommend this. This is just going to decrease that incoming fire you're going to be taking, because you're generally going to be playing farther back and from cover with this build. So this is just a nice way to get those enemies shooting at something else, so you're not taking a bunch of fire when you pop up to take your shots. The second skill is mostly preference. I use the scanner pulse because I pretty much designed this build to be able to work with 5 directives on heroic all the time. And if you don't know, one of the directives right now is cool skills. So I don't really care about my second skill so much. But if I am going to use it, I like the scanner pulse because it's going to kind of help with that fog of war directive, just to be able to find those enemies that sometimes spawn a little bit farther or something like that. But if you don't want this, you can use pretty much any skill you like. Some people like to run the Revive Hive. I used to run the Riot Foam Chem Launcher to help get those headshots a little bit easier if those enemies are running around a lot. But that's mostly just preference. Now, something worth noting with this build, I have it very precisely tuned to just be able to one-shot everything. So if you don't have a couple of these rolls correctly with the headshot damage, or maybe your rolls just aren't optimized all the way, you might have some issues with consistency. There might be a couple instances you won't be able to one-shot enemies that I do. So I just want to throw that out there because most builds, if the attributes aren't fully optimized, they'll generally work the same way and they'll still work pretty good. But with this one, it is pretty precise. So I understand it can be tricky to get all those rolls maxed out, but also I am not running technically the most efficient version of this because of my personal preference. I just prefer the SR1. There are snipers that hit a little bit harder that can make up for that if you don't have a roll or two that I have. So that's just something I wanted to mention in case you are just copying exactly what I have. If you have a couple of these rolls not maxed out or a couple headshot rolls missing, you might not be able to one-shot quite as consistently. Now, the last thing I wanted to go over about this first build is that it's very important to understand how it works. So I'm here in the firing range, and you'll see I have it on Elite here, and I am on Heroic. And if I shoot this guy, it doesn't one-shot him. So if you don't know how this works, like I went over this talent earlier, Perfect Headhunter, essentially you need to get a couple kills before you're going to be fully maxed out, able to one-shot everything. So if we go here and kill a red enemy with a headshot, you'll see 2 talents just went on. You'll see on the bottom left, the far left, that is our Headhunter. So that's going to give us increased headshot damage. And then the far right is going to be our Determined. So that's going to allow us to shoot bodies and still count as a headshot. So now you'll see if I shoot this guy in the body, still counts as a headshot and it kills him. And then now we can keep shooting bodies and we are one-shotting those gold elites. And then you'll also notice from our hot shot, every time we get a kill, we get a little bit of bonus armor, as well as it refills our mag. Now, if we miss a shot, we lose those Headhunter stacks, but we keep Determined. So we can still shoot him in the body and it counts as a headshot. But if you don't have everything maxed out the way I do, you might not one-shot if you miss a shot. So that is just something worth noting. But you can see here, I can miss as many shots as I want, and I'll still one-shot that guy every time on solo. I've never tested this build with more than 2 people. For me, it works fine on solo and with 2 people. But if you have 3 or 4, I'm not sure if it'll be able to one-shot everything quite the same. So you'd have to test it out for yourself. But yeah, it's main thing is just understanding how these talents work with Determined and Headhunter. So just take a good look at those, make sure you understand how it works so you know how to actually use the build. Now getting into the second build, this is the PvP version, pretty similar to the first one, same specialization, same primary. I just switched to the Scorpio because I don't use the Nemesis in PvP. Pistol doesn't matter really. For the overview, we still have our Ninja Bike. We're still going to have a piece of Habsburg, only this time we're going with the two-piece Hotshot, one piece Providence, and one piece Araldi. Now, again, it doesn't have to be this exact formation. You can have these pieces of Hotshot wherever other than the backpack because that's exotic, and the chest piece because, again, that is going to be named. So getting into the pieces, it's going to be the same rolls on everything. Headshot with headshot mods, weapon handling as the secondary attributes. Only this time we are not going to have roll of armor. It's going to be all weapon damage. And then on that other piece of Hotshot, we have headshot again, headshot weapon handling, headshot weapon handling. The Araldi Holdings bonus is going to give us marksman rifle and headshot damage. The Habsburg is the same as before, headshot and marksman rifle. And then our chest piece is going to be the named sacrifice chest piece. That's going to give us headshot crit chance. We don't care about the crit chance. We're mainly using this for the talent, perfect glass cannon. Most of you probably know what this do. Amplifies your damage, but also amplifies the damage you take. So you really got to be careful with this build and play it really smart, because if you run into anybody that has any amount of damage output, they're going to kill you really fast. So you definitely need to play from the shadows, really smart about where you're positioning yourself to be able to give yourself every advantage you can. This is a similar kind of play style to the PvE version. You're just going to be playing from farther back, sneaky places where they're not going to be able to get good shots on you. The reason we're running Glass Cannon instead of Headhunter on this version is because Headhunter requires kills to activate, and generally in PvP, you don't want to use things that require kills to activate because you're just not going to be getting nearly as many kills. So the hardest part about this build for PvP is that because we're running Determined, that means we have to land our first headshot normally. So you have to land an actual headshot on a player, which can be tricky at times. But once you land that first headshot, Determined will activate when that player gets finished on the ground. So if you finish them while they're downed, you do have to finish them with a headshot for it to count. Otherwise, a teammate can finish them, or if you finish them with some kind of skill or grenade, it will activate that Determined, and then you can start shooting in the body, and it'll count as headshots like before. So for the skills on this, we're running the decoy for the same reasons as before. For this one, I'm running the tactician drone just to help spot those enemies, make it a little bit easier to help know what kind of positioning we want to put ourselves in. You don't necessarily have to run this. You can again run Riot Foam, or even like a scanner pulse if you're using this for Dark Zone maybe, although I wouldn't really recommend this for the Dark Zone. I understand these builds can be tricky to get because everything has to be pretty high rolled and have all the correct rolls. But I really encourage you guys to try it if you can get your hands on these pieces and you are able to optimize everything as much as it needs to be able to one-shot. Sniping is just such a niche thing in this game. Really not a lot of people do it at all, but it's so fun if you can get it down. It's tricky. It's one of the hardest play styles, but it's just super uncommon, and it creates for really good build diversity and some really cool moments of people just not expecting it, especially in PvP. And then for PvE, for PvP, it's a lot of fun if you can get good at it. For PvE, it's mostly just an XP thing because this build is specifically designed to be able to handle 5 directives, so it's just really efficient for XP. But it's just a fun way to switch things up because things can get really repetitive in this game with the sort of meta game that's been established. There's not a lot of build diversity anymore with PvP especially. So anytime there's a viable option that's really far outside of the meta, it's usually a good time. So I definitely recommend people to just get out there and experiment with different builds. And this is just one way you can do that.
You're the only one I can talk to.